Welcome to Skin Tips Saturday Live. My name is Janaelston. I'm a beauty therapist, skincare teacher, and a blogger. And I teach people about skin types, skin conditions, skincare products, how to look after your skin, and also general health, well-being tips and beauty tips. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about sunscreens and the importance of using sunscreens. This is the fourth video in the series that I started sharing with you early this year. The first video, I talked about choosing the right cleanser for your skin. The second video, I talked about how to exfoliate your skin safely. Last week, we talked about moisturizers. And today, the fourth video and the fourth most important thing you need to do to have a beautiful skin is protect your skin from the sun effectively. So the four-part series really is the four most important things you need to do every day to look after your skin or on a regular basis. So you need to cleanse your skin morning and night. You need to exfoliate your skin every week, moisturize morning and night, and protect your skin from the sun. These are the four most important things you need to do. So today we'll talk about sunscreens. And I will link to the videos, the previous videos I've made in the comments below. You're always welcome to check them out on my page. You just click the tab for videos and you'll see all the past videos I've shared with you. You can also visit my blog, thebeautybusiness.com.au, where I share the videos. And you can find lots of other articles about skincare and beauty tips. Hi, Isabella. Thanks very much for that. Welcome. Thanks for joining. And look, if you find this information interesting and you think that it will help somebody else, feel free to share. So you can click on the share button or tag friends to come in and join us so you can have a little chat, and feel free to put any comments below. I can see them up here. They'll pop up. So if you'd like to ask a question while I'm live on the video, then I'll be happy to do that. Just pop your question below. Right, so let's get into sunscreens. And what I'd like to talk about today, first of all, is why it's important to wear your sunscreen every day. What are the possible consequences if you don't protect your skin from the sun? Now, we have all been educated from the public media, and we've got some very good government bodies that educate the public about effective sun protection and why you need to protect your skin, which is mainly to prevent horrible diseases like skin cancers. And they're devastating when people have it. My father-in-law had a melanoma cut out, and he was very lucky. He kept on, he lived for many, many, many years afterwards. And I know a friend recently had a melanoma cut out from the thigh. She had it on her thigh. So you probably, I'd say everybody in Australia, particularly here in Australia, would probably know somebody, a close friend or a relative who has been exposed to skin cancers such as melanoma. There are other skin cancers that can be just as damaging to the skin and just as dangerous, but melanoma, of course, is the one that frightens us the most because it can be quite aggressive. So protecting your skin from the sun, number one, is to help to prevent skin cancers. Number two, from aesthetic point of view, from a beauty therapist perspective, and this is what we deal with, is to help prevent skin conditions such as uneven skin tone and pigmentation. Excessive sun exposure causes the skin to produce more melanin, which is the pigment in your skin that makes it go brown. When you go out in the sun, you tan, you go brown. Well, if you're lucky, some of us with pale skin, we actually burn first. And so it causes your skin to try and protect itself by producing melanin, which will help to act a little bit like a sunscreen on your skin by reflecting the light or absorbing the damaging UV rays. So melanin is a mechanism from the body to try and protect itself from that UV damage and from the burning rays as well. This is why you find people who spend a great deal of time outdoors, they have very, very dark skin because the body is trying to protect itself from all that excessive sun exposure. So number one, we try to prevent uneven skin tone and pigmentation problems. What I deal with as a beauty therapist and many other beauty therapists, my colleagues, what we deal with every day, number one skincare concern here in Australia is pigmentation. So whether it is brown spots, age spots, or large stains such as melasma, uneven skin tone, or freckles. These are the different type of conditions we deal with that are the result of sun exposure. And it's a big focus. Lots and lots of people come into the salons and ask about treatments and products that will help to brighten the skin, even the skin tone, and help to fade brown spots, age spots, and pigmentation marks, such as melasma and chloasma. So that's number one concern. The number two concern in beauty salons is aging. And then we also have a lot of people concerned with acne, particularly adult acne. Speaking about aging, sun exposure, long-term sun exposure will accelerate aging in the skin. In fact, any sun exposure, the minute you step out in the sun, it's accelerating aging of your skin. UV rays trigger free radical damage in our body, in our skin. So the free radicals then create a cascading effect in the skin where it leads to damaging the collagen in your skin, the elastin. So you start to form wrinkles sooner and your skin gets saggy sooner too. Aging is preventable. A lot of the aging, the environmental aging, is preventable by wearing a sunscreen every day. You will find people who use sunscreen from very young have skin looking younger as they get older. So pigmentation is one thing you want to avoid. You want to also delay the signs of aging. So you want to extend the youth of your skin by wearing sunscreen every day. Keep your skin younger looking for longer. The other things that excessive UV damage can cause in your skin is broken capillaries and couperose that we call, or rosacea as well. So the capillaries, also the capillary wall, is made up of collagen elastin, and the UV rays penetrate deep into the skin and damage that collagen elastin, which causes the capillaries to then weaken. They become larger and they are more pronounced then. So you see people with sun damage. I see it all the time, and I have it as well because I spend a lot of time driving and I wear sunscreen, but I still do get the sun damage, and I'll explain to you why. I don't know if you can see on my chest, my skin is a little bit more rosy than on my face. And when I'm not wearing makeup, my chin is quite red as well. And it's essentially, these are the areas that are exposed to the light that's coming in through the windscreen of the car that's causing that damage in the skin. Also, my right side is slightly more aged than my left side, which is the side that's exposed to the window, to the sun. I don't know if you notice, but this side is firmer. Can you see that? And this side is a little bit more dropped. So the elastin and collagen is starting to go on this side. And that is through years and years and years of accumulated UV exposure. I've been wearing a sunscreen since I was 19 years old, since I did my beauty therapy training and learned about the importance of UV protection. And I've always worn an eye cream. So I'm very lucky. I don't have Botox. I don't have any fillers. This is my skin. You can see I have some wrinkles. That's normal. I'm nearly 50 years old. So that's quite normal for somebody my age, but it's pretty good, I think. But you can see the sagging that is starting to happen there. You can prevent that. Now, I see deeper wrinkles, deeper lines, more pronounced sagging and thinning of the skin in women, even in the mid-30s, because they haven't been protecting their skin from the sun. So you can't stop biological aging, chronological aging. The time keeps moving on. But we can certainly protect the skin and extend the youth of the skin for as long as possible. So what I would suggest is that start wearing your sunscreen. Look for the best sunscreen you can and make sure that you use it every single day. What I suggest with my clients is that they keep their sunscreen next to the toothpaste and toothbrush. So every morning when they wash their face, they brush their teeth, when they apply their moisturizer, they also apply the sunscreen because it's right there. You can't miss it. And clients, when they come in and I said, have you put your sunscreen on today? They go, no. I go, well, you haven't brushed your teeth today either, have you? So we have a little bit of fun like that, but it's make it as easy as possible. Now, I also have my sunscreen in my purse, so I take it with me all the time, and I, again, reapply during the day. Now, we'll talk about why. So let's just go back with other skin conditions that can be triggered by excessive sun exposure. So we talked about pigmentation is number one, aging and premature aging, cuperose, capillaries, and rosacea that cause the breakdown of the collagen elastin in the capillary wall that causes the skin to then have that constant flushed look. You also get thickening of the skin. So what we see in a sun-damaged skin is pronounced open pores and thickening of the skin. So it looks really uneven. Hi, Nolene. Thanks for joining. Now, what I would suggest is when you look at your skin, look closely to see whether you are starting to show the signs of sun damage in your skin. Is there any spots that are darker than others? Do you have visible capillaries? Are you noticing wrinkles, particularly forehead, around the eyes, and around the cheeks as well? Did you notice the more pronounced open pores and the skin feels rougher? The sun damage that occurs here causes the skin to really thin down, becomes a lot more thinner than what you remember when you were younger. It reddens very easily, and you can literally see when people take their top off, you can see that mark where they normally wear clothing of skin that has been protected opposed to skin that has been exposed. So when you wear your sunscreen, you've got to remember not only to apply to your face, and oh my gosh, I see so many clients, skin looking perfect there where they've been wearing sunscreen, majority of their life, and then lots of sun damage here. So make sure you apply face, neck, décolletage, and your hands too, because your hands can be areas that show aging the fastest. Around the eyes, the neck, and the hands, that's where we see aging the fastest as well. So make sure you protect your hands as well. So this is why you need to wear your sunscreen every single day. You need to wear it every day, even if it's winter, even if it's raining or it's clouded, because the UV rays penetrate through the clouds as well. So just because it's cloudy doesn't mean that you don't need to wear your sunscreen. Wear your sunscreen even if you're in a car, or if you're working in an office, you're indoors, but you're next to a window. The UV is still coming through. The windows do not protect your skin from sun damage. You need to wear a sunscreen. Okay, so that's the importance of wearing sunscreen. Now, let's talk about a question that often comes up when I talk to clients. What is the difference between a physical and a chemical sunscreen? And of course, I have some clients who come in and specifically ask, I just want a physical barrier sunscreen. Or, are there any chemicals in the sunscreen? So what is the difference? Now, the term chemical has such broad applications. It's used in so many different ways. We use chemicals when we talk about food. Are there any chemicals in the food? Which means we're probably asking, are there any preservatives or colors? We may be talking about, are there any chemicals in skincare? Which means that often people mean, is it a synthetic product or is it naturally made? And then when we talk about sunscreen, usually people ask, is it a chemical sunscreen or physical? Again, I think they're asking, is it made with natural ingredients or is it a chemical based? Because sometimes, for some reason, the term chemical has got a bit of a bad reputation. People are scared of the word chemical or the term chemical. They think that it's harmful in some way. And yes, there are many harmful chemicals out there, but then there are also very beneficial chemicals out there, such as water. Water is chemical. Your natural sebum that is produced by your own skin is made up of chemicals. So chemical is really just a substance. That's what it really comes down to. You need to then explain further. You know, I'm concerned about preservatives. I'm concerned about synthetics. I'm concerned about colors or allergens, etc. So that's really, I think, what it comes down to. But when you're talking about chemical versus barrier sunscreen, it's a different application again. So when we talk about chemical versus barrier, is how they actually work, what they're made up of, and how they work on the skin. So with a chemical sunscreen, it'll contain chemical filters that filter out UV rays. So it's a substance that's used in the sunscreen that will literally act like a filter, like a sieve, to prevent those UV rays from getting into the skin. But what happens to the UV rays? The chemical filters, they absorb the UV rays and then they're converted to heat, because UV is energy, and energy, it has to go somewhere. So it's just physics. So your chemical filters, through chemical action, will absorb the UV, or majority of it, and I'll come back to that. So they'll absorb majority of it and then convert it to heat to release the energy of the UV. I hope that makes sense. Whereas physical barrier sunscreens contain physical particles. So ingredients made up of physical particles that act literally like a block, like a reflector, to reflect UV. So imagine like little mirrors. So they're almost like a little mirrors on the skin that reflect the UV away. So they don't have any action chemically on the UV. They physically repel UV. Again, both chemical and physical sunscreens are not 100% blockers. And that in Australia, we are not allowed to use the term sun block, to block, because they don't. Nothing blocks it 100% unless you get a piece of wood or metal that will, apply to the skin. That's 100% block. Even clothing is not 100%. Certain clothing can allow some UV rays to get through, depending on the gaps in between the weave of the clothes. So it's a little bit like that with sunscreen. Now with sunscreen, when they test them, when they test the sunscreens in lab, then they give them a rating of SPF, a 30 or 15, 30 or 50. So generally SPF 30 will filter out 96.7% of UVB. So again, even SPF 30 is not 100%. SPF 50 filters out about 98% of UVB. Again, it's not 100%. You'd have to have an SPF of 100 to have 100% filtering out. Now, let's talk about SPF, what SPF is. SPF is a rating given to sunscreen that prevents the burning of the skin. So they actually block out the UVB rays, the burning rays. So the SPF rating on your sunscreen only refers to the UVB rays. What you want, though, also is a broad spectrum sunscreen that also filters out UVA. UVA rays penetrate a lot deeper into the skin, right down into the dermis. They're the rays that cause the collagen and elastin to break down. They're the rays that are responsible for skin cancers as well. So you must ensure when you purchase a sunscreen that it is a broad spectrum sunscreen and filters out both UVA and UVB. There is no rating for UVA. There is only rating for UVB. So UVB will tell you how long you can stay in the sun before you start to burn. So let's talk about the UVB rays and the factor and how it works. So the UVB rays are the rays that penetrate into the epidermis and cause the skin to burn. with the rating on your sunscreen will indicate how long you can stay out in the sun before you start to burn. Remember, I said sunscreens are screens, not total blocks. So they do allow some of the UV light to still get through. That UV light can accumulate, build up, and eventually cause your skin to burn, even if you're wearing a sunscreen. Does it make sense? If you stay in the sun long enough. And this is what people make mistake. Where they make a mistake, they apply a sunscreen and they think that they're getting a total block for the rest of the day, and they end up getting sunburned because they don't understand how a sunscreen works. Before I talk about something else, let me just talk about the UVB and the rating. So when the sunscreens are tested in the lab, they will then get a rating, what they can claim of how long you get protection. So for example, and how you work it out, for myself, for example, I've got very pale skin because I have been very, very good, and I've been staying out of the sun as much as possible. My skin, if I do go out in the sun, so if I'm doing gardening and I haven't applied a sunscreen, I start to feel my skin to burn within 5 minutes. Literally, I feel the burning effect, the pain, the burning, and the skin, not necessarily right then and there, is reddening. So reddening is not associated with the burning. So when you start to feel the burn, it's about 5 minutes. The reddening can come later, even once you get out of the sun. Have you noticed that if you ever got sunburned, you got out of the sun and your skin gets redder and redder and redder because it's continuing to cook, because it's so much heat in the skin and the UV rays that have done damage to the skin. So the burning is the stinging you feel and the reddening you see as well. Now, in my skin, that happens within 5 minutes. So for SPF 15 sunscreen, what I do is time 5 by 15. So SPF 15 gives you 15 times the length in the sun before you start to burn. Does it make sense? So SPF 15 times 5, and I've calculated this so that I've got the correct figures for you. SPF 15, if your skin burns within 5 minutes, it gives you 75 minutes in the sun before you start to burn. SPF 30, that's 5 minutes by 30 is 150 minutes. That's 2.5 hours before the skin starts to burn. And if I wear SPF 50 by 5 minutes, I timed it by 5 minutes, that gives me 250 minutes or 4 hours, just a little bit over 4 hours in the sun before my skin starts to burn. Now, what happens after that? Do you just reapply after 4 hours? Not necessarily, because your time is up. Just like when you're in the sun unprotected for 5 minutes and your skin starts to burn, all you're doing with a sunscreen is extending the time before your skin starts to burn. Just by reapplying sunscreen doesn't mean you go back and start from fresh again. That's not how it works. And the reason is, remember, sunscreen is a filter. It still allows UV to get in. That UV builds up. By wearing a sunscreen, it just means that you lessen the amount of UV that gets through. Does it make sense? Imagine you've got a glass of water, you put a sieve through it. The sieve will allow some of the water to drip through. You keep putting water in there for long enough, eventually the glass will be full. And that's what happens with the skin. Your skin becomes full of UV, and that causes the burn. So how often can you reapply sunscreen, and how does that work? So within a 24-hour period, nobody knows exactly for sure, but that's what we advise our clients. Within 24-hour period, once your time's up, you need to wait 24 hours before you can then go back out in the sun again. So let's say you've got a picnic outdoors and you've applied your sunscreen. Let's say your skin burns within 5 minutes. You use an SPF 50. You've got 4.5 hours out in the sun. Then you need to get indoors. And you've got 24 hours before you can go out in the sun again. I hope that makes sense. So that's how the sunscreens work. this is where people make a mistake, because they'll go to the beach, they'll turn up there at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, don't leave until 6 o'clock. They've used up their time. You have to use a sunscreen of a factor of 80 or 100 to stay out all day in the sun. Or you've got a skin that actually doesn't burn as fast like mine. So, for example, if you start to feel the burn in 10 minutes, then, of course, your time is doubled. Young skin, children's skin, they burn very, very quickly. And most people that burn in the sun when they've been out on the beach are the young children. They come back and they're burnt, and then the mothers are frustrated, what's going on? I've applied sunscreen and I've reapplied. Now, let's talk about the reapplication. The reapplication doesn't extend your time in the sun. It only means that you still have the coating on your skin to protect, because our skin is alive. It sweats, it produces oil, we move around, we scratch, we have clothing that rubs off, we touch each other, we swim, we lie down on the towel where the sunscreen can rub off. So when we're reapplying, it means that we're just ensuring the coating is still on the skin. It doesn't mean that you're extending the time you can stay out in the sun. You need to reapply your sunscreen if you have been swimming, or if you use the towel, or you've been sitting against something where the sunscreen has been rubbed off, or you've had a piece of clothing that possibly took some of the sunscreen off. That's why you reapply sunscreen, not to extend the time out in the sun. Now, that's just, remember, we're talking about burning. The UVA rays, which are aging, there is no rating for it. So nobody knows really for sure how long you can stay out in the sun to prevent premature aging and pigmentation and capillaries and all those things that are occurring deep down in the skin that the UVA are causing. So, but just to be safe, people recommend, and actually the SunSmart website has some excellent information about how to use sunscreen correctly, and I'll link to it below. And also the TGA, Australia Therapeutic Goods Administration, who regulates sunscreen in Australia, have excellent information about sunscreens, how they work, how to apply them correctly, etc. on the website, and I'll link to it below too, so that you can research this and read this for yourself. I'll link to those below. So we've talked about the difference between a physical sunscreen, chemical sunscreen, how they work. And let me just go backtrack to that. We talked about the SPF, how it works, and why you need to reapply, and why you need to get out of the sun once your time's up. With a physical and chemical sunscreens, there is you've got people who like just physical and people who like just chemical sunscreens for various reasons. So with the chemical sunscreens, people tend to be shy away from them because they think they're made up of chemicals that could be possibly harmful to your skin. There is no evidence to date that that is true. The only thing that I sort of think about, I question, is when chemical sunscreens, how they work on your skin, they convert the energy of UVB into heat, that the heat possibly could trigger inflammation in the skin. You're out in the sun and you've got inflammation anyway. So how can you protect your skin from inflammation? Look for sunscreen that has built-in anti-inflammatory ingredients. Use serums underneath your sunscreen that are anti-inflammatory, anti-free radical as well. I think that's the best approach you can have if you're using any sunscreens, really. If you're going out in the sun at all, always you choose products with antioxidants that are anti-inflammatory. They also protect your skin from free radical damage that accelerates aging and causes a lot of damage in the skin. So that's my advice. Now, physical sunscreens sometimes get a bad rap because, number one, they're very thick when they go on. They can have a ghosting effect, and a lot of people don't like that because they're literally made up of tiny particles that create a coating on your skin, so they do feel thicker. To get around that, manufacturers in recent times have used the micronized powders like zinc and titanium dioxide to make the product go on smoother and it doesn't feel so thick. So then there is controversy about the micronized particles. Could they possibly penetrate into the skin? The latest research, and I've researched it on the TGA website and the SunSmart website, they say there's no such evidence today that nanoparticles or micronized sunscreen could actually penetrate. So look, each to their own, as long as you're wearing a sunscreen. And you will find there are many sunscreens out there that are combination, both physical and chemical, to give you optimum protection. As long as you're wearing a sunscreen and then you follow the rules of also protecting your skin by wearing a hat, wearing sunglasses, staying in shade whenever possible, wearing protective clothing, and don't stay in the sun in the middle part of the day where the UV rays are the strongest as well. So you, in conjunction with wearing a sunscreen, you need to take other steps, lifestyle and factors, into to make sure that you protect your skin from problems such as skin cancers and pigmentation and rosacea, etc. So be sensible. Wear a sunscreen. It's a personal choice what you prefer, whether you have an objection to micronized particles or you have an objection to chemical, wear a sunscreen. But look for one with good additional ingredients such as antioxidants and anti-inflammatory ingredients. So how do you apply sunscreen correctly? And this is another thing that people tend to do wrong. They don't apply enough and they don't allow enough time for that sunscreen to kick in and work. So you must apply your sunscreen 20 minutes before you go out in the sun. Why? Particularly with chemical filtered sunscreens, they actually need to absorb into the skin and kind of sit in within the cells to start working. So the reason you want to apply your sunscreen 20 minutes before is because the sunscreen needs to absorb to the very top layers of your skin to give you that adequate protection. So that's number one. Number two, you need to apply enough sunscreen to give you the coating that's required to protect your skin, to give you that SPF rating. If the sunscreen is thin, you won't get that full rating of the sunscreen. In the lab, when they test the sunscreen, they test it on skin, they apply a particular layer and they measure that layer. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'm sure if somebody researches, they can pop that in the comments below. But it's a particular layer. And they worked out to get that particular layer, to give you that sunscreen rating, you need to use about 5 ml sunscreen for face, neck, and décolleté. So 5 ml, let me see, I've got my measuring spoons here, my cooking measuring spoons. So that's a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon, 5 ml. Now I have my sunscreen here and I'm going to measure it out for you, apply, so you can see actually what 5 ml looks like, because you'll be quite surprised. So let's see, let's make sure that that's even. Okay, so that's roughly, just a tad over 5 ml, but can you see that? So that's just a tad over 5 ml. Let me just scrape the top off. I'll pop that over there. All right, so that's 5 ml. So let's have a look what that looks like on the back of the hand, the 5 ml sunscreen. Now, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have to scoop it out. Okay, so that's 5 ml. Look at that. That's a lot of sunscreen. You've got to put on, that's my cat scratches. You can see that. My cat scratched me. That's 5 ml. Let me put that next to my mouth so you can, on my nose. It's as big as my nose. That's how much sunscreen you need to put on face, neck, and décolletage to get the full sun protection that is labeled on your sunscreen. So this particular one is 50 plus. That's how much sunscreen I need to put on my face, neck, décolletage, and don't forget your ears. A lot of people get skin cancers on the ears. I'm not going to waste this. I've got my little ball here. I'm going to pop that there, and I'm going to reapply that a little bit later today. Waste not, want not. So there we go. That's 5 ml for face, neck, and décolleté. For full body, you need 35 mils. So 35 mils is 2 tablespoons and a teaspoon. Or, you know, those shots that you know, you can have a tequila shot. They're usually 30 mils. And I believe 30 mils is an ounce. Correct me if I'm wrong. So 30 mils for the whole body. Essentially, they're saying a teaspoon for each part. So a teaspoon for the face, neck, and décolleté, teaspoon for each arm, a teaspoon on each arm, teaspoon on each leg, and teaspoon on the front and the back. So that's roughly how much sunscreen you need to be applied. It needs to be a nice, thick layer to give you that adequate protection. So if people are telling you, I burnt myself, you know, I wore the sunscreen, check with them. Did they apply 20 minutes before? Did they apply adequate amount? And did they reapply once they've been swimming? Even with sunscreens, most sunscreens are water resistant, and they have water resistance up to 4 hours and so on. Even with those sunscreens, because you come out, they rub themselves off, they rub off the water, they use a towel, you remove the sunscreen, you need to reapply. So that's why you need to reapply. So that's interesting, isn't it? Hey, Sarah. Yes, so Sarah made a comment here. She always knew antioxidants improve sunscreen effectiveness. And Sarah says she wears topical vitamin C first and SPF with vitamin E. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. This sunscreen that I use, it's Manola SPF 50 Sun Shield, that has aloe vera extract in it. Fantastic ingredient for reducing inflammation and helping the skin recover after UV exposure. And vitamin E, just like you, Sarah, it has vitamin E, which is a fantastic antioxidant as well. So it's got an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant in it, which is fabulous. I love it. Let's see what you look for in a sunscreen. Look for a sunscreen that you feel comfortable wearing. So, and you feel comfortable with, whether it's a physical or a chemical or a both. But make sure that also it has added ingredients such as vitamin E or other botanical extracts that are very beneficial, such as aloe vera or pomegranate or other powerful antioxidants that will help give your skin that little bit extra protection from free radical damage and help your skin recover after sun exposure. That's really what you're looking for in a good sunscreen. You will find sunscreens that have added beneficial ingredients in them, mostly in beauty salons, skin clinics, and spas. The generic sunscreens you find in drugstores, supermarkets, pharmacies are fairly basic. They just have the sun protection ingredients in it with no added ingredients, such as aloe veras and vitamin E. So you really want that little bit extra if you want to get the best out of your sunscreen and sun protection as well. I think I've covered everything today. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below or come and join me in my group, the Beauty Business Students group on Facebook, and I'll link to it to the group in the comments below as well, so you can join me there. Don't forget to check out my blog, thebeautybusiness.com.au, for other really informative articles, blog posts, and I usually post links to my videos there as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this session. So we've come to the conclusion of the 4-part series of the most important things you need to do to look after your skin. You need to cleanse your skin morning and night, basic hygiene, and it's the first step in correcting your skin type and condition. Secondly, you need to exfoliate your skin regularly to make sure that your skin is working at optimal. You need to moisturize your skin every day to prevent dehydration, premature aging, and other skin conditions. And then you need to wear your sunscreens every single day, rain or shine, summer or winter. So there you go. I hope that was interesting. If you liked it, please share with your friends. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again next week for Skin Tip Saturday Live. Bye for now.